Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, write a Java program to demonstrate creating a constructor. Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. So first of all, what exactly is a constructor? Constructor looks similar to the methods. I'll write all the points here. First, understand, guys, before we go to the practical demonstration, let's understand some concepts around constructor before we create them. So constructors, first of all, look similar to methods. But what is the difference between the constructors and methods you have to understand next? Okay. Coming to the methods. Coming to the methods have return type. Methods have return type. Like if a method is not returning anything also, we generally mention void. If a particular return, okay, if a particular method is returning, some integer value, we'll provide the return type as int. If the particular method is returning some string text, we'll provide the return type as string, etc. Right? So methods will contain the return type. Okay, methods contain the return type. But constructors, coming to the constructors, no return type. Here, constructors won't have any return type. This is one of the difference that you can see when you compare the methods and constructors. Coming to methods, they have return type. At least void will be there if the method is not returning anything, and if the method is returning something, accordingly, the declaration of that particular data type, okay, will be the return type of that particular method. But coming to the constructors, there are no return type. So no void, no int, no string. Void also will not be there, guys, okay? Constructors will not have any return type. That is the first difference between the methods and constructors, though they look similar, okay, in the style and all, but constructors won't have the return type. Other thing about the methods is they have their own names. Okay, you can create methods with different type of names. Okay, you can give whatever the name you want to give for the method inside a class. But with constructors, you cannot give your own name. Okay, name of the constructors should be same as a name of the class. Okay, name of the constructor should be same as the name of the class. While methods have their own names, constructor cannot have their own names. Constructor name should be same as the name of the class. These are the main two important things when I compare this methods and constructors. Constructors look similar to methods, but these are few differences between the methods and constructors. Then what is the purpose of the constructors? Purpose of constructors in Java. What is the purpose of the constructor? The main purpose of the constructor is to initialize the variables. Okay. So for every object, you have to initialize the variables. Okay. If you want to initialize the variables of every object, then we have to use constructor. For a particular class, you can create a lot of objects. For every class, you have to initialize the variables. Okay. The class related variables you have to initialize for each and every, whatever the variables that you define inside the class, right? Okay. If you have to initialize them for each and every object, if you have to initialize them, the easiest, simplest, or the best way of initializing the variables in Java is by using the constructors. Okay. Constructors simplifies the process of initializing the variables for objects, class objects. Okay, for objects, for class objects, whatever the objects, for each and every object you create for the class, right? For that class objects, if you have to initialize the variables separately or whatever it is, constructors will be doing a better job there. Okay, it simplifies the process of initializing the variables for each and every class object. For each and every class object, constructors purpose is to simplify. If someone asks you what is the purpose of constructors, what are constructors? Constructors we use in Java, they look similar to methods, but they have these differences like they don't have return type, and name of the constructor should be same as the name of the class in which they are created. And at the same time, you have to say that the purpose of the constructors in Java is to, okay, simplify the process of initializing the variables for each and every class object. Okay, that's what you have to say as an answer, guys. Okay, so if you have this knowledge, you will easily understand with practical demonstration what exactly a constructor is. For that, I'll switch here and create a new class. I'll just name this class as some name, let's say car class, let's say. Okay, with the name car I'm giving. Click on finish. Inside this class, car class, I'll create some variables. Okay, let's say I'll create some variable like string, color of the car, double mileage of the car, int, price of the car. Okay, then string, model of the car, string, company of the car. Like that, many variables I can create inside the class. Now, here if I have to create some method, like for example, if I have to create some method public void, I can give any name for the methods, guys. Okay, whatever I'm creating is a method. It has a return type. You see, the method doesn't return anything. At least the return type should be mentioned as void. Here I'll say print car details. Okay, like this I'll write a statement and here write down system.out.println, system.out.println, color of the car is plus color. Okay, then I'll write down system.out.println, mileage of the car is plus this particular mileage. Then next one, system.out.println, price of the car is plus price. Then model of the car is system.out.println. Here model, okay, model of the car is here I'll say plus model. Then here I'll write down system.out.println, company of the car is plus company. Okay, plus company. Like this, I'll create some method. Okay, the next one is all good. So far, so good, guys. Okay, now I'll save this and I'll create a new class. I'll just name this class as some random name, let's say demo class. With main method, I'll create. So why I am creating this another class, I'll tell you. Okay, here we have the demo class. Inside the demo class, we have this main method. Now what I want to do is, I want to create objects for this car class. Inside this main method, I can write car HAMZ, Honda Amaze, let's say. Okay, new car. I create an object for the new car. Okay, and using this object reference, I would like to call this particular print car details method. Okay, HAMZ dot print car details. Let's see what will happen. Did I initialize any of these variables for this particular object created for the car class? No, I have not done that. So if I run the code, what will happen? Just see that. Okay, in the output, you see in the output, what is the output you are getting? Color of the car is null, mileage of the car is 0.0, price of the car is 0, model of the car is null, company of the car is null. That means default values are coming. Okay, even though I have not initialized these particular variables of this class for this particular newly created object, still if I try to access this variable and print all the variables, color, mileage, price, model, company before initializing them, okay, it's taking up the default values, it not give any errors. But what we have to do is, for every object, we have to initialize these particular variables. Okay, using the object reference of the class, you can do that. HAMZ dot color is equal to gray color, let's say. Okay, you can create any number of objects, guys. For every object, you can do the same thing. Okay, mileage is equal to 14.53 is the mileage. Let's assume HAMZ dot price is equal to let's say 9 lakhs in Indian rupees. 9 lakhs. Okay. Then HAMZ dot model is equal to Honda model. Okay. HAMZ dot company is equal to the model is Amaze model, guys. Okay. Amaze is a model and the company is Honda, guys. Okay. Like this. Now I have initialized this particular variables. Okay. This class related variables, I have initialized this particular object 1. For the object 1, I have initialized all these variables, okay, of the class. And when I say print car details, this time default values will not come. Instead, you will get, okay, all the details. Color of the car is gray, mileage of the car is 14.53, price of the car is 9 lakhs, model of the car is Amaze, company of the car is Honda. Now, before I show you how to create a constructor and all, you have to understand all these concepts, guys, okay? So now if I want to create another object, okay, similar object I want to create, I'll copy paste just to save the time. Here I'll say instead of Honda Amaze, I'll go for SVDI, okay, Swift VDI, okay. Swift VDI dot color is equal to, let's say, red color. Swift VDI dot mileage is equal to, I will give the mileage as, 23.12, let's say. Price of the car, I'll say 8 lakhs. Then model of the car is VDI and company of the car is Swift. Maruti Swift, otherwise Maruti is a company. Maruti is a company and Swift VDI is a model. Okay, model of the car is Swift VDI and company of the car is Maruti. Okay, and print car details. Okay, now I have two objects created. This one object I created with this object reference. This is referring to this number one object. This object reference is referring to another object reference. And here, using this object reference, we have initialized the class variables for this particular object with the different values. Okay, here for this particular object, second object, I have used this object reference to initialize the class variables for this second object. Okay, the values of the variables for this object are different from the values of the variables for this particular object of the car class. Okay, there are two objects I created so far. Run the code and see that color of the car is. You see all these details. Honda Amaze. Okay. Okay. For this one, you see. Here there is a problem where here I have to copy this SVDI and say SVDI.price, SVDI.model, SVDI.company, SVDI.print car details. Like that I have to say. Okay. Now, the next thing is run the code again. And this time you'll get the details properly. See, there are two object related details are coming, but there is no separation. So I'll do one thing. I'll just intentionally add system.out.println. Here system.out.println, I'll add a line, guys. Okay, I'll add a line like this. Okay, just to segregate the different object print statements. Okay, so using this object reference of the SVDI car, okay, using the object reference of that, okay, I am calling the print car details. Okay, so what will be printed? All the car details of the second object will be printed. Color of the car is gray. Color of the car is 14.53, 9 lakhs, Amaze and Honda. Here, color of the car is red. Mileage of the car is 23.12. Price of the car is 8 lakhs. Model of the car is Swift VDI. Company of the car is Maruti. Like that, you will get all the details. That's good. Okay. Now, if I create 100 objects, these statements need to be written how many times? These statements need to be written 100. If I have to create 100 objects, these statements will be how many in count? 1, 2, 3, 4. For every object, 5 statements I have to write for initializing. That means 100 objects means 100 into 5, 500 statements I have to write. That's a very hectic task. I don't want to write this many statements. So what I can do is I can create a method for this. For example, public void. I'm not going directly to the constructor. I'm going to the method. Initialize vars. Okay. Some name you give, guys, just give some name, that's enough. Okay, you don't have to give you can give any name because method can have any name. Okay, name of the method need not be same as the name of the class. It can have its own method names. Okay, initialize vars per car, you can give any name. Okay, so here I'll just give the same variables, string dot color, comma, double mileage, comma, this int price, you write down that here. Then next one is string model. I'm just trying to reduce the number of lines for initializing. Okay, I'm trying to simplify the process of initializing in Java, but I have taken an example of method for doing that stuff. Okay, is a method a correct one or not? We'll figure it out. Okay, I've created a method here. Public return type is there, means method. It has a different name from the class name. It has its own name. Okay, now what I will do is I have to differentiate the class variables from this method parameters. For that, to say that this color and color both are having the same name, to differentiate this class variables from this, I have to simply write this dot color. This is the class variable. Okay, the class variable color is equal to the parameter color. Okay, the parameter color. Like this, I have to write this dot mileage is equal to, this is what is initializing called as, guys. Okay, mileage. Then this dot price is equal to price. This dot model is equal to model. This dot company is equal to company. I'll write. Okay, this dot company is equal to company. Save this, guys. Okay, now what you have to do next is, You don't need this many statements, guys. Okay, to initialize this class variables for this particular object, you don't have to write this many statements. I'll tell you how to do that. You simply have to call this hamz dot, call this method known as initialize where's for car. Okay, here you have to pass all these values. First, you pass in place of this null, you pass gray. In place of this 0.0, you pass 14.53. In place of this 0, you pass this 9 lakhs. Okay. In place of this amaze, in place of that null, you pass amaze here. And in place of another null, you pass the company name Honda. Okay, like this, you have to pass this. You have to, these are the arguments that you're calling the method here. Initialize where's for car, you are calling that here. These statements are not required anymore. You see, in single line, we completed now. In a single line, we completed the task case. Initialize where's for the class like that. Okay, for this also, you don't need so many lines. You can simply write svdi dot initialize where's for car, and you just pass these things. Okay, and write down 23.12. Okay, and then write 8 lakhs here. Write 8 lakhs. Then write Swift VDI. Write Swift VDI. Then write Maruti. After you write this, you remove all these lines. These are not required anymore. Things are going to work in the same fashion now. Run the code, guys. Run the code. Right click, run as Java application. Run the code and observe that. You see, you will get the same output. Gray, color of the car is gray. Mileage of the car, you see, model of the car is Amaze. Company of the car is Honda. Red. Swift VDI, Maruti. Like that, you will get all the car details. You see, I don't have to write five statements for every object to initialize the class variables for that particular specific object. Okay. You have 100 objects created, you just have to write 100 statements for initializing the variables. Okay, initializing the variables. But still, using the method for initializing the class variables for that particular specific objects is not a best one. Okay, it's not the simplest way. What I will do is I'll convert this method into a constructor. Okay, I have to convert this method into a constructor. This is where the actual answer for this question will kick in now. Write a Java program to demonstrate creating a constructor. Okay, now the purpose of the constructor you will understand, guys. So I don't want even this particular method to be explicitly called to initialize the class variables for each and every object. Rather, I want to do that in a different way. For that, I have to convert this method into a constructor. Constructor, I told you, right? When compared to the method, they look similar to the methods, but this return type, even void also will not be there. And the name of the constructors should be same as the name of the class. It cannot have its own name. So car, you see the name of the class and name of the constructor matching. Now remaining all things are same. This is now a constructor, guys. Simply this is a constructor now. Save this. Okay. Now, instead of calling this particular initialize where's for car method separately, you pass all this data while creating the object. Okay. In the object creation statement itself, when you're creating an object for the car class, beside the circular bracket, this portion is called as constructor calling statement. This will call this constructor, but here multiple parameters are there. Here no parameters, no arguments are there. I'll paste it. Once I provide the arguments, you see this statement is not required. When you create the object itself, the constructor will be called, and all these class variables will be for this particular object will be automatically initialized. You don't even have to write a single line. Okay, which one is better? Method way of initializing the class variables for particular specific objects is better, or while creating the object itself, the constructor calling statement is being calling the constructor. This car is calling the constructor, and this constructor is getting initialized automatically. Which one is better when compared to methods and constructor? Constructor looks a simple way. You don't have to write any lines. Even though you create 500 or 100 objects, 0 lines you have to write for initializing, because in the object creation statement itself, you are initializing the class variables for that particular objects. This is what the constructor all about, guys. This is how the constructor looks like. Guys. Whatever I have written here is nothing but a constructor. Okay, let's see till where I can go. Just close it here. Otherwise, save this. Yeah, this is the constructor. I'll just reduce the size a bit. You can take the screenshot of this constructor, guys. This is what from line 11 to line 19 is nothing but the constructor, guys. This is how it looks like. It doesn't have return type and it has a same name as a class name. And the purpose is to simplify the process of initializing the class variables for each and every specific object, okay, without taking any extra lines, okay. And you can call the constructors like this. When you say demo here, the constructor will be called here, okay. When you create the object itself, the object creation statement has a constructor calling statement, and that will initialize the class related variables for each and every object. Now run the code and you will get the same output without any difference. You see, we got the same output without any difference. This is what is the purpose of the constructors, and this is how the constructor look like. So guys, these what are the constructors, and you can take a screenshot of this code now if you want to practice later. So yeah, hope that you have taken the screenshot for this code. So with practical demonstration, have written a Java, with practical demonstration, I've answered this question for you. That is, write a Java program to demonstrate creating a constructor. Not only I showed you how to create a constructor, but I explained everything from scratch. Like I explained the difference between methods and constructors. I explained what is the purpose of the constructors. When you are answering such kind of questions without this knowledge, if you answer, it will look very artificial for the interviewer. So it's better that you answer the question in a proper way. Okay, apart from writing the syntax of the constructor when the interviewer asks a question for you, along with writing the code for writing a constructor in the Java program, you should also have in the background, that knowledge of the constructors you should have. Without this knowledge, no matter how much you explain, there's no use, guys. So, and also while writing this code, Java program demonstrating creating a constructor, right? Okay, try to not take a simple program. Try to take this kind of program that I have demonstrated here, like car and all those stuff, initializing the class variables using constructor. You take it. You don't have to go from a direct initialization, then go for the method initialization, then go for the constructor initialization in your answer. You can directly jump to the constructor initialization, and at a high level mention that a constructor simplifies the process of initializing the class variables for each and every object for the class. Okay, like that you have to say, that's it. You don't have to explain all this stuff. This explanation I have given in this section so that you will understand, you will get more confidence while answering this question in your own way. Okay, that's the reason I explained this answer for this question in a detailed manner. But in the real time, with this knowledge, you try to answer whatever that is possible for you in whatever that looks natural for you as an answer for the question that you get in the interview. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye.